Hello, and welcome to Nice and Blunt. My name is Adam Riancho, and we're back here on YouTube Friday, August 16th, 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. It's time for another draft. Let us begin. All right, I am feeling good, and we're going to be hopping into a puppy today, a little pupster for you, maybe two. Probably two, because it is a 20-second clock. A reminder of the tournament settings: half PPR, you're going to finish top two. Then you advance to a 10-team group. Got to finish first. Got to finish first again out of 10. Then you enter a 375-seat final where there are $1 million up for grabs in this tournament. And if you win first place, you take home 100K. You can check out the other prizes, but I am on a 6-second delay. If you want to draft with me, we are in the Puppy 3 $5 entry. Hit that button right now, and I will be joining you in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's get it. All right, fetching our draft. It is loading. 2 spots left. If you want to take one, be my guest. If not, just stick around, enjoy the show. 1 spot left. Now it's full. Okay. All right. We get pick 4. Let's go. Good pick today. And I will definitely take that. Over pick 12. Anything but pick 12. I've had a lot. Too many pick 12s on the live stream. That's the thing. Sometimes you got to take your lumps. Get the bad luck for a little stretch, and then sooner or later, luck is going to swing back around. The pendulum always comes back around. It's karma. Just playing with your heart sometimes, making you think, "Oh, I'm just doomed. I'm going to be at the end of the draft order every single time." And then nope. Now we're in excellent position. I love pick 4. I really like pick 4 because we could go with Ja'Marr Chase. We could possibly get a value on one of the top 3 guys. If we wanted to pivot towards St. Brown or Jefferson, we could do that. And if we really wanted to, we could take a running back. I don't think I will, but we could if we really had that desire in our heart. It wouldn't be insane. But for the sake of exposure, I will be going wide receiver at pick 4. But love the values in the 3rd. Even the 2nd has good values at that point. Much more appropriately priced wide receivers. And we're going to take Ja'Marr Chase. I don't feel like I take him too much on the live stream because I rarely have a top 4 pick. But we're going to go with Ja'Marr Chase. Just a ton of upside. And kind of like CeeDee Lamb, who cares about his holdout? He'll get paid. I'm not worried about it. And the vibes are definitely a little bit better with him and the Bengals than they are with like Lamb and the Cowboys. Obviously, Ayuk's situation is weird, but I am very happy about the price discount on Ayuk. I might even take Ayuk at 21. We could possibly get him at 28, but I'd be comfortable taking Ayuk at 21. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But the business circuit, welcome to the chat. For a 8-man league, what strategy would you recommend? Can you go round by round? Yeah, I think in general, I don't like to be too rigid. There's definitely players I'm targeting, some strategies that I'm employing. But for the most part, I think the only like adjustment I'm really making in an 8-team league is that I'm bumping up those elite quarterbacks and those elite tight ends. Like if you can get a top 5 tight end in an 8-team league, I think you're in far better position than if you don't have one. And those onesie positions, I think, are a lot more critical to have like elite guys at that spot. So I would covet someone like Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts a lot more in an 8-team league. I think you could definitely reach on them and it's going to be fine. Same applies with tight end. That's where I think the difference is made because like there's so many wide receivers that are viable every week, and overall, like when you only have to start I assume like probably a maximum of 3, not including the flex at receiver. Like you can push that position down for sure. That would only be like 24 guys in an 8-team league that you have to start every single week. And then running back's still kind of thin in general, but it's not as thin as the quarterback and tight end positions. So push up tight end QB and fade wide receiver just a little bit. Obviously, if it's full PPR, then don't fade wide receiver too much, but definitely covet those tight end and quarterbacks earlier. Steve Garza has a question. These underdog drafts, you don't play against anyone, right? So it's just how many points you score, how many of each position do you pick? I'm kind of confused. New to underdog. Good question. So we are playing against everybody that we're drafting against. You can enter a 12-team league for, let's say, $3 to $10, $3, $5, $10. I would highly recommend those if you are new to underdog. The return on investment is much greater in terms of your likelihood to actually get the money back. As you get more familiar with how it works, then I would be willing to hop into more tournaments. I think this puppy is also a great way to take a stab at the tournaments because it's only $5. It's not like the sprint where you have to put in $50, and if you're just figuring things out, that's definitely kind of difficult. So I would highly recommend those 12-team formats, and in general, you're always like fighting against these other players in this draft lobby. But just real quick, we're on the clock. I'm going to go with Jalen Waddle. Let's take Waddle. Truly elite upside. If Tyreek Hill goes down slightly past ADP, I'll take Waddle. But yeah, so I always need to focus on how this draft is turning out. I don't want to get buried at a certain position that these other league mates are highly coveting. So you do want to keep that in mind. Once you make it to the playoffs, however, then it's a wide field tournament, and you're trying to maximize upside as well in this draft with that in mind, with the hopes that you do advance. So I think you always want to focus on this group of 12 that you're playing against. You can do a 10-team league, but I always do 12 teams on the stream. And also maximize upside with stacking and weekly matchup correlation. And that's kind of more of like a galaxy brain type of strategy. Like when you're just new, just focus on beating the other 11 teams in your lobby. But here we are, Brandon Ayuk. I just love the value here that we get on the dip. I mean, if he went to the Steelers, I'd be fucking shocked at this point. It seems almost guaranteed that Ayuk will be a Niner. And I was taking him at pick 12 when I thought that that's how high I had to take him. Like now, falling to round 3, like I'm going down with the ship. If Ayuk fucks up, if Ayuk goes to the Steelers and signs that contract, I think he'd be making a big mistake. I don't think the Niners want to get rid of him. I think Ayuk is like a massive value if you can get him past pick 20. So here at 28, fucking love it. Ayuk is quickly rising up my board as he was already a highly drafted player of mine. Now he might be my like most drafted player by the time we hit the season, if this contract situation drags out even further. So yeah, we go Jamar Chase, Jalen Waddle, Brandon Ayuk. Great receiver core for yours truly. I'm happy with that. But anyways, last point for you, Steve. You are trying to maximize the payouts in the tournaments, and that's why sometimes you focus a little more on the stacks. But the stacks are always viable. Stacking is always a strategy I recommend using, and no matter what, on Underdog. Even in your regular redraft league, even if it's not best ball, stacking, getting a quarterback and one of their receivers on the same team, getting teammates is usually a very good strategy. It boosts that high-end output just a little bit, if not a lot. And when you're looking at like minute margins in terms of percentages of advance rates, any boost you can get is worth it. So that's what I would keep in mind. Just try to beat your group of 12 and then focus, and then just pray that it works out in the end, but also maximize your upside with some stacks. Anyways, the business circuit asking, would you recommend wide receiver 1, RB1, RB2, Tight end 1, wide receiver 2, QB 1, high upside guys. Maybe I'm just like kind of forgetting your original question. 8-team league, what kind of strategy? Are you asking for like individual recommendations for these players? I think that's what you're recommending, or is this like how you want to go about like round by round which positions you're taking? I think that's the question you're asking. Please clarify for me. But in general, I just want to take the best value overall, factoring in who I think I can get with my next pick in still the same tier. But here I am on the clock once again. Kind of want to go with George Pickens, but running back is thinning out. I'm just going to take Josh Jacobs now and know that I have a really good option at that position. I'm going to take Josh Jacobs here because I have noticed lately running back has been pushed up a lot. It's a lot more difficult to get Pacheco in the 4th. Here he goes in the 3rd. And Jacobs in the 5th is a lot less likely as well. It's possible, but Team 2 doesn't have a running back. They have 2 more picks before our next pick. So this is kind of like what I'm talking about, business circuit. Like round by round, you can have that approach of like, I'm going to take a wide receiver here, then I'm going to take a running back. But I think it's really just about like, how does the draft fall to you? What are other teams doing? Because if there's a run on a certain position and you lose out on that tier, then I'm not going to force the issue on like my wide receiver 25, for instance, if I can still get RB7. And I think it's a much different tiered system. So just that's the way I would recommend it. Wow, George Pickens falls to 52. Very tempted to go with Dalton Kincaid here, but I'm just going to take Pickens. Similar to Ayuk, like this might burn me if they both play on the same team, but I think if they don't, you're getting both guys at a massive value here. So we go with Ayuk and Pickens on the same squad. Let's hope they don't both play in Pittsburgh, but I don't think that's going to happen at this point. So yes, business, I would be recommending a tiered-based strategy, not a rigid position by round approach. I recommend the best player available in the highest tier you can hit. And if that tier dries up, you'll be able to hit that following tier in probably the next round. You can probably pivot to a different position, even if that's not exactly what you might need the most. Like here, taking George Pickens is the example. Like I could have taken him at 45. He was the highest ranked player on the board, but knowing my tiers, I felt like I was really going to miss out if I did not take Jacobs there at 45, and it did work out for me. So having a tiered list in advance is always beneficial. The rankings on my channel are individually ranked, but also in tiers as well. If you just want to only look at the tiers, you can skip to the end of the video, take a screenshot of that list. I will be updating them in the next week or two. But yeah, go based on tiers. That's my recommendation. But I skipped Fight Me. He had a comment. That Leia appearance at the beginning of the stream a couple days ago was very cute. Had to clip it. Oh wow, you clipped it. I'm already forgetting which one it was. Oh yeah, I think I was holding her. Yeah, she's a beauty. Leia's a little princess there. But just like Dev is saying here, get the best player available. That should be your first strategy. Definitely the tiered approach is my recommendation. So here's the team so far. Jamar Chase, Jalen Waddle, Brandon Ayuk, Jacobs, and George Pickens. Almost took Kincaid there, but with the falling value of Pickens, I think it was worth it. After Pickens, we see Kincaid, McLaurin, Christian Kirk, who has been falling lately, but I don't think he's falling enough. Calvin Ridley, Xavier Worthy, Chris Godwin, Keenan Allen, CJ Stroud, Rashad White, Kenneth Walker, Jaden Reed, Deontay Johnson, and now Joe Mixon. My team kind of set up for a Joe Burrow stack, so I'm definitely not taking quarterback with the next 2 picks. That's good to know. Kyle Pitts is falling. I could go Kyle Pitts. Rome is here, though. No, I'm going to go with Mr. Montgomery. Going to take David Montgomery. Kind of wanted Rome there, but with the 4 receivers I have, I don't think it's critical. And there is a tier break approaching at running back. These teams don't have a lot of running backs. Like this team that just took Kyler only has 1. This team that just took Ladd doesn't have a single running back. I had a feeling that Egg Daddy 21 would take Pitts, but I'm fine with that. I don't think I need Pitts on this team. I'm lower on Pitts than most people. I have Jake Ferguson ranked above Kyle Pitts, so not too upset about that. Would have loved Odunze, but he obviously goes off the board. That's what I expected. But we got Jacobs, Dave Montgomery on this team. I think we're still going to get a good receiver regardless. I want Brian Thomas. We'll see if I get him. I think this team has Mahomes. No, they have Kyler. The team on the other side of me has Mahomes. So, yeah, I get the guy I want. I get Brian Thomas, my highest ranked receiver, by kind of a wide margin, honestly. I think Brian Thomas is going a full round too late. Give me Brian Thomas here. The injury to Christian Kirk, I don't think is like a huge deal, but definitely a reason to be a little more optimistic about Brian Thomas. And I'm not going to read too much into the weird usage for Christian Kirk in the preseason either. Like, if you look at Christian Kirk last season, he didn't do shit in the first week of the year. Like, even if you look at the regular... Oh, no, not Kirk Cousins. We need Christian Kirk. The other Kirk. But, like... Sometimes the preseason usage is, like, very important, but then at the... other times, it's very irrelevant. And week 1 last year, if you looked at this Colts matchup with the Jags, you would have said that Zay Jones was more valuable than Christian Kirk after week 1. Kirk only had 1 catch on 3 targets, and he only played 60% of the snaps. But that immediately changed the following week. He had 14 targets, caught 11 for 110, 12 targets in week 4, and... that's why I'm not like going to overreact to a lack of usage in the preseason for Christian Kirk. I still think Kirk is a very reliable player. I definitely trust him more than Gabe Davis, but I've had this take for a while. I think Brian Thomas could be more valuable straight up, and my most recent rankings updates do have the 2 back-to-back. So to get Brian Thomas still nearly 2 rounds later after Christian Kirk, I think is a smash pick. Keon Coleman, not bad either, but I think Brian Thomas is going to have more of a weekly role from week 1 through the rest of the year. I believe in Brian Thomas Jr. So there's a run on running back there. Ferguson won't be coming back around. So tight end is the position I've yet to hit. Burrow goes off the board. We won't be getting Burrow. And I don't really have great stacking options at the moment, so I'm just going to take Jaden Daniels and let the chips fall the rest of the way. Taking Jaden Daniels, such a fail-safe at this point. These next 3 teams do all have quarterbacks, so maybe that wasn't like the most necessary pick, but I felt like if I missed out on Jaden and Dak, I was kind of going to be in a hole with an unstacked Caleb. And that's not the end of the world, but I do have Jaden ranked higher. And with his rushing upside, he could be a league winner this year. He could be Anthony Richardson. Could finish as a top 5, top 3 quarterback if he stays healthy in the rushing rushing upside really is there. Njoku goes off. I was kind of hoping for Njoku. Bowers also goes. So not ideal here. I was expecting to go tight end, but I think we'll be okay. Swift gets taken. And I've been really talking myself into Romeo Doubs lately. We already have 5 receivers, but if I take Doubs here, now I can justify maxing out at like 7 receivers. And I know I need 3 tight ends at this point. Once you miss out on Njoku, I think that's the way to go. Unless you can pair Njoku with like Goddard. But at the very least, my wide receiver spot is going to be very strong in this league. So we'll figure it out. But Dev says BTJ is an auto click. Keon Coleman will bust this year. If they have him playing X, he's going to get clamped up. I think he has plenty of value. I think he's going at an appropriate price. I don't think he's like a true bust. I just think you might get all of that production backloaded, which for the tournament's sake is not bad, but you might regret early on having Keon Coleman above Curtis Samuel. There's a world where we hit like week 7 and it looks like Curtis Samuel was like by far and away the better pick. And then after week 10, it's definitely in favor of Keon Coleman. I don't think he'll be a true bust. Round 1 wide receiver at the end of the day. So I guess top of round 2, they traded out of the first round and still took him. But I think he's fine. Round 7 is a decent price, but I definitely prefer Brian Thomas Jr. That's for sure. That is for sure. That team with Jordan Love is probably pissed I took Romeo Doubs. After I took Dobbs, we see Chase Brown, Josh Palmer, Zach Moss, 103. I have been seeing Moss fall. Like I got him yesterday or maybe the day before at like 116. I got Zach Moss pretty late. I still think the two of them are going to have equal value. I used to be a lot higher on Moss. I've adjusted. I've come back around on Chase Brown because it looks like he's getting a lot of work in that offense at the moment. But I get sniped on Goddard. That's a bummer. I was hoping for Goddard here because I need tight end. Might go Purdy, though. Goff gets taken. I'm going to go Jerome Ford and gamble that Purdy might come back around. I have a lot of Purdy, who does stack up with my Ayuk pick, but I can also go with Tua if I like really have to. But these teams all have good quarterbacks. I'm going to take the gamble that they don't take him. Obviously, Purdy goes right after. It is what it is. But I do have the fail-safe of Tua, whereas I felt like running back was going to be a little more coveted around this turn. It doesn't work out, but I don't mind it. I'm not upset. I do also think that Tua is a decent pair with Jaden Daniels because rookies often start a little slow. We know Tua is a much more better option at the beginning of the year. It's just a question of will Jaden Daniels stay healthy. But I have the stack option for both Waddle and Purdy. Both Tua and Purdy. So I could also go Trevor Lawrence. I do actually have Lawrence ranked higher with Brian Thomas. Yeah. For the sake of ADP, I'll take the falling value in Trevor Lawrence. Can go either way, but I do have Lawrence ranked higher. More rushing upside with T-Law than Tua. Tua does not run it at all. There's more injury risk as well with Mr. Tagovailoa. So I'm going to stick to my rankings. I've got Lawrence one spot above Tua, but in a different tier. So they both stack up. One with Brian Thomas, the other with Jalen Waddle. And I'm fine taking the better ADP value because I think I would have been slightly reaching on Tua. Tua ADP 122. I was at 124. T-Law ADP of 118. So, yeah. MDS, good evening to you too as well. Dev saying, I think Keon Coleman is who you're referring to, that they might Gabe Davis him and he'll be so boom or bust. That might be true, but in best ball, like, despite being extremely volatile, Gabe Davis was actually like a high advance rate type of guy in best ball because he's just automatically in your lineup when he does go off. And when he doesn't, even if he puts up a 0, you can get 15, 16 plus points from somebody else. So, if that is what Keon Coleman becomes, then he's not a bad pick at all on Underdog at least. I think he'll be difficult to feel great about in your regular redraft league, though. Early on, I think you might regret that pick. Dev prefers that we went with T-Law. No, he's saying he better not bust. Okay. Yeah, he does not have any excuses. I don't think he will. He got kind of hurt at the end of the year, and they were winning games until he got hurt. They were very close to being in the playoffs last season. Jonathan, happy Friday as well. Dude, we're 2 weeks away from the subscriber league auction draft. We're so close. Do we take Chai Chandler here? Wow, tight end has really dried up. I'm going to go with J.K. Dobbins. Higher upside with Dobbins. There's probably going to be some weeks where Chandler is their guy. Aaron Jones very likely to miss some time. But Gus was injured. And if one of these guys is like a true league winner, I think it's more likely J.K. Dobbins. Probably a higher floor with Ty Chandler, given the injury risk of J.K. Dobbins. But taking a Charger on this team is not something I'm going to regret. Give me J.K. Dobbins. All right, so far I got Jaden Daniels, Trevor Lawrence. Jaden Daniels is unstacked. Lawrence stacked up with Brian Thomas. Running back, we got Jacobs, Montgomery, Jerome Ford, J.K. Dobbins. Wide receiver, Jamar Chase, Jalen Waddle, Brandon Ayuk, George Pickens, Brian Thomas, Romeo Doubs. So far on this team. Downs is tempting. Tight end is rough. I'm going to take Tyler Algier. He has been moving up the board lately, and obviously we need Bijan Robinson for this to be like a true league-winning pick, but that's kind of what I'm hoping for with this 5th running back. And given the 5 I have, I could call it done with this group. I feel pretty safe with it. We'll see about receiver. But we definitely need 3 more tight ends the rest of the way. Anyway, let's look at the board on the screen. That's, I'm sure, what you'd rather look at. Jonathan, I am a Dobbins believer this year. Dobbins sounds pretty optimistic about his health this year. Hard not to root for the dude. He's had it rough. Yeah, if he can have one season where he lives up to that potential, like, if you don't know, J.K. Dobbins was fucking elite in college. J.K. Dobbins out of Ohio State was phenomenal. These are his numbers. His junior year, he ran for 6.7 yards per carry, 2,000 yards rushing on 301 carries, 21 rushing touchdowns. He was also a really good pass catcher. In college, a minimum of 22 catches all 3 years. That's like a very high threshold to hit in college. If you can hit 20 plus receptions as a college running back, you're better than average. That's for sure. But collectively, 2,250 yards from scrimmage in 14 games, 23 total touchdowns. J.K. Dobbins was so effing good out of Ohio State. Like, there was so much to be hyped about when he declared for the NFL. He's just been wrecked with injuries, but he has ran for like a high efficiency rate, or at least there were some years early on when that's what he did. His first 2 seasons, 6 yards per carry, albeit only on 134. Year 2, 5.7 yards per carry in 8 games, only 92 carries, but like, he was really fucking efficient. And he's only 26. I know he's missed a shit ton of games, but like, I would love for it to work out for J.K. Dobbins. Definitely rooting for him too. In terms of potential upside, he's definitely the most interesting Chargers running back. We're going to go with Tyler Conklin, my boy, my highest drafted tight end. And from a floor standpoint, very safe pick. Upside standpoint, let's hope for the best with Aaron Rodgers. If he can be that number 3 target after Garrett Wilson, after Breece Hall, then Conklin will smash this ADP. And I am just praying for a Robert Tonyan type of season with my Tyler Conklin investment. That's what I'm hoping for. But Marshawn Lloyd continues to fall. There he goes, 168. This is probably a Ben Sinnott team. Is it Sinnott or Sinnott? But I have Jaden Daniels. I'll probably be targeting Sinnott or Sinnott, whatever the two, whichever one you want to say, at pick 189. But I could definitely take him here if I really wanted to. I'm going to shoot for upside. We went with the floor play of Tyler Conklin. Let's shoot for the ceiling with Isaiah Likely. Sounds like he's going to have more of a role this year. We obviously need Mark Andrews to go down for the true ceiling to actually happen, but I do think the pairing of Conklin and his high floor, low upside, combined with Likely with a low floor, extremely high ceiling, I think does make sense. I've got 3 more picks left. I will be taking another tight end. That's for sure. But this is the team so far. Jaden Daniels, Trevor Lawrence, Josh Jacobs, Dave Montgomery, Jerome Ford, J.K. Dobbins, Tyler Algier. Wide receiver, we have cooled it for a while, but given who we have, I think it's been justified. Chase, Waddle, Ayuk, Pickens, Brian Thomas, and Romeo Doubs. I still feel really good about my receivers. Very good. But now I need there to be no tight ends drafted in the next 7 picks. I really want Ben Sinnott. That's who I'm hoping for. I was not a fan of Sinnott earlier, but that's when his ADP was like in the 13th round. Sinnott was going way higher a month or 2 ago, like 5-6 weeks ago. His ADP has fallen to like 190, and now I think it's appropriate. now I think round 16, 17 especially on Ben Sinnott is definitely a much more viable price tag that you can talk yourself into. When it was round 13, I was not interested at all. Round 14, still a little bit pricey. I could have taken him there at pick 172 in the 15th, but with his ADP where it is, and me having Jaden Daniels, so people not targeting the stack as much, I think it's worth gambling he's there at 189. His ADP is 187. But Fletcher Cox, wow. NFL legend Fletcher Cox in the chat here. Would you trade ETN and Lockett for Mike Evans and DeAndre Swift? Let me make this pick and then get back to you real quick. I am going to take Sanat. Is there anybody else I'm considering, though? Not really. Give me Sanat. Would I trade ETN and Lockett for Mike Evans and DeAndre Swift? I mean, obviously, it's a big upgrade from Lockett to Evans. Is it worth the Swift to ETN trade? I think it's a pretty fair trade. I think it's more dependent on like what your roster actually needs. I think if I was like thin at running back, like if Swift was one of my starters, then I'd rather have ETN. If Lockett was one of my starters, then I'd rather have the Mike Evans side. I think it's really dependent on like what your roster is about. Like that's why trade questions I don't like love, because it's really dependent on what the rest of your team looks like. But straight up, I think I'd rather have the ETN side of this. I think there's more injury risk with Swift and Evans. I know Lockett is banged up at the moment, but historically he's been really good. And he usually has a high floor. I'm just going to take Justin Fields. We have George Pickens. I think it works out. I don't usually go with a 3 quarterback, 3 tight end build, but I think this is one where I think it can be justified. I need one more receiver for sure. I will be taking a receiver with my last pick, but given I have Pickens, there's a world where Ayuk also plays with the Steelers. I think this works out. And now I have like 2 elite rushing upside QBs. Jaden Daniels, when I draft him as my number 1, I can justify a third, but this is a kind of a shaky build. Receiver is just so strong on this team. Like I'm really happy I have Dobbs that I think it can work out. But Fletcher, I do think I'd rather have the ETN side of that trade straight up. I'm not like in love with DeAndre Swift, in all honesty. Whereas I think ETN could be a top 5 running back this year. Swift could definitely get injured again and go down. That wouldn't shock me at all. Playing with Caleb Williams is definitely appealing. Definitely some high upside there. But I do think ETN is a more critical piece. But I do think it's a very fair trade. I think if you needed receiver more than running back, if you already had like a lot of depth at running back, then I'd be comfortable taking the Evans side of that deal as well. I think it's pretty fair. Dev saying he's likely might be more of a slot receiver. Yeah, it looks like he's the number 3 target this year in Baltimore. Fade the Rashad Bateman talk. Fade Rashad Bateman. Likely should be more involved than Bateman. Steve Garza, is that the real Fletcher Cox? I hope it is. I hope so. In my heart, I'm going to believe that it is. Anyways, Boyd, Juwan Johnson, Jordan Whittington goes 199. I'm starting to get a little bit concerned about my Demarcus Robinson investment because of some of the recent hype on Jordan Whittington. Because if Whittington overtook Demarcus Robinson, that wouldn't be like unfathomable at all. It's Demarcus Robinson. It's not safe. It's not safe. But he's actually my most drafted player, believe it or not, at 25%. There's a lot of guys that are like really close, but his ADP is so cheap. Even still, I was taking Demarcus Robinson almost like every fucking draft when he was in like the 17th, 16th round. Or 18th round. There was a time when he was almost undrafted. So, hoping that works out, but we could talk ourselves into Luke McCaffrey. We could also talk me into De'Ami Brown. For the sake of uniqueness, I'll go De'Ami Brown. De'Ami Brown is the one that'll be undrafted. He might be a 0, but so might Luke McCaffrey. There's reports that Olamide Zaccheaus might be more involved, and it looks like Jahan Dotson is quickly fading. Not a lock to be a starter on this team. So given the deep connection that De'Ami Brown had with Jaden Daniels in the preseason, I'll gamble on De'Ami Brown at a position I'm not really expecting much in the first place. Like, my 6 top receivers are really good. I don't think I need much from this number 7 guy anyways. So whatever. It works. It's more unique. It is what it is. But let's do another one of this this puppy tournament. Another little pupster for y'all. $5 entry. Yeah, I already went over the rules at the top of the video. If you want to join me, I'm on a 5-second delay, so hit the button right now, and I'll be joining you in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Vámonos, muchachos. Vámonos. Dev saying Demarcus Robinson ended the year really good. He's not losing his job to a rookie who hasn't done anything yet. I mean, as much as I want to believe that, I mean, Puka as a rookie last year, 5th rounder, looked really fucking good. And Whittington caught like 7 passes for like 94 yards or something in the preseason. And Sean McVay has recently said like he's going to have a role for them. I wouldn't say he's immediately going to beat out DeMarcus, but I wouldn't be shocked if like by like week 10, Robinson was lackluster and faded. Robinson had like a short stint where he was like really good, but yes, Kupp was hurt last year, but even when Kupp got healthy, Puka was still great. I don't think he's Puka Nacua. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just not as confident that Demarcus Robinson will be like the number 3 guy all season long. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. It'll definitely take a few weeks to happen, but I hope it doesn't, because I have a lot of Demarcus Robinson. It is worth gambling on Whittington a few times here or there randomly for the sake of exposure, though. But Dev, I see you there at pick 1. You go with Lamb. Not a bad pick. Floof at 2 goes Christian McCaffrey. Pick 3, Yamasaki, goes Tyreek Hill. Salsa Caliente at number 4 goes Amon-Ra. Okay. D Little 13, I assume, takes Jamar Chase. Yep. So that means I'm going to take Justin Jefferson. Could definitely go with running back, but I'm just going to take Jefferson. Lock up my elite receiver in round 1. Pick 7, Mets go Let's. I assume Let's Go Mets was taken. Do they go A.J. Brown, or do they just stick with running back? Bijan. Bijan at pick 7. If you know me, I still am going Breece Hall over Bijan. I think Bijan is my least drafted player in the first round because of that reason. I think so. It's either Bijan or Christian McCaffrey. They're both at like 4 or 5%. exposure. And CMG goes Breece Hall. When I used to be a child actor, my manager I was represented by CMG Talent Group. That's where my mind went there. But number 9, Dorian Sun goes AJ Brown. Pick 10, Seattle should have run. Seattle should have run. Goes Garrett Wilson. Benny Geck at pick 11 goes Puka Nacua. And team 12, DSR 2389 goes Marvin Harrison Jr. Pretty normal first round, with the exception of Amon-Ra St. Brown at pick 4. Otherwise, it's exactly what we would expect. But team 12 goes Saquon at pick 13. That's interesting. Dev saying I have a TV/radio voice. I mean, thank you. Technically, that is what this is. YouTube may not be like, broadcast television, but I am in front of the camera at the moment. But yeah, if you haven't been on the channel for a long time, I did grow up acting. A little nugget about myself, but I'm not going to go into detail. We'll stick to fantasy football. If you really want to know, you can check out my IMDb page, but I've removed my headshot. Most of my stuff was when I was a kid, and I don't really want my childhood headshot on IMDb. Anyways, we go Jefferson. I think I'm going to take Nico. I'm high on Nico this year. I haven't taken him a ton on the stream here, but he falls a little bit. I will go Nico Collins. Happy to invest in the Texans. Who do I think is going to be this year's Puka Nacua? Ooh. Interesting question. On one end of the spectrum, it's like it's not fair to answer this question because nobody is going as cheap as Puka. Like, Puka was literally undrafted last year, or you could get him in round 18. Like, there's no one in round 18 I think offers Puka's upside. But if there's a rookie wide receiver that I think could break the records, I think I'm going to say Rome Odunze. I love Rome. Odunze is my boy. I love Brian Thomas as well, but I think if one of them was like really going to fucking smash, if you told me that like Keenan Allen got hurt in like week 3, I think Odunze could become the alpha above DJ Moore. And like, that's saying something. DJ Moore is like poised in that offense. But yeah, we've been thinning out at running back at this point. Like, it's really rare to get Kyren Williams anymore these days at this spot. But I'm going to go with Devontae Smith. There's been a diminished value on Jalen Hurts lately in the middle of the 4th or like late 4th sometimes. So if we can stack Devontae with Jalen Hurts, I'll be happy about that. We get Smith also like at a discount here. ADP 26, pick 30 is where I take him. I'm happy with Devontae Smith at pick 30. But Jefferson, Nico Collins, Devontae Smith. Let's go. But yeah, running back was highly coveted in this lobby. I might be forced to go with like running back at 43 because these next 3 teams after me also don't have a running back. For the sake of tiers, I may have to go running back. We'll see. I'd be ecstatic if Pacheco made it back. Team 12 getting their guys. Goes Kelsey and Mahomes at 36-37. Yesterday, like last night, off the live stream, I was in a draft where the team at 12 went with Mahomes and Rashee Rice while Kelsey was still on the board. They passed on Kelsey. Damn, ETN at 39. Wow. Okay. Yeah, they passed on Kelsey. They went with the Rashee Rice stack with Mahomes at the 12 round 3-4 turn. And I got Travis Kelsey at pick 50. I got Kelsey at pick 50. Damn. There's a really good value here on Michael Pittman, but like I'm about to get buried at running back. I don't really want to reach on Jacobs. We just did. Okay, I'll just take the value on Pittman. I should probably be going with Jacobs here. But to get Pittman at 43, not that common. Let's do it. But there's no way I get Jacobs coming back around. Yeah, especially with Dev here. But you already have 2 running backs. Anyway, if you take him, I'll be happy about that because that means that these other teams without running back don't get him. Go ahead and take Jacobs, man. I know he's your guy. Yeah, it doesn't matter. There it is. Jacobs at 48. Good for you. And then Ridley. Oh, wow. Ridley is the number 2 receiver. That's a little rough. DJ Moore is in his prime, but he can come close. I think there's not much difference between DJ Moore and Jamar Chase. I do. I don't think DJ Moore is that good. He's not bad, but I do think Rome has the talent to overtake him. I don't think long term there's that much of a difference between Rome and Jamar Chase. Rome is a blue chip talent. I know DJ Moore was drafted really high as well, but Rome is a true blue chipper. Am I getting Trey McBride here? Let's go. McBride 54. Let's go. I mean, I guess we're going to find out. We're going to find out what happens this year with Caleb Williams. We're going to find out. Anyways, I get a really good value on Pittman and McBride. So I have a unique team through this point. McBride rarely goes past pick 50. I'm kind of happy that team 5 took James Cook instead. But then we see Jaden Reed, Christian Kirk, Terry McLaurin. Dev saying if he had a Joe Burrow and the Tater share, he could do the same numbers. Their numbers are actually close already. DJ Moore's talented. I don't want to shit on DJ Moore. I just believe in Rome that much. I really do. Rome is a player I really love. I prefer Tater share. Such a high share of taters. You can call him Napoleon Dynamite. He keeps them in his pocket. DJ Moore, give me some of your taters. Give me some of your tots. Nuh-uh, get your own. Do you have a 20% tater share of Rome? 20% tater share. Oh, somebody's here to say hi. Somebody's here. Say hello. I like that autocorrect shifted the word target to tater. Like, how often do you talk about tots with your friends? How often are you texting your mom to go pick up some tater tots at the grocery store, Dev? I imagine it's like on a weekly basis, if not every other day. If autocorrect has you that invested in tater tots, you are a big fan. Might as well change your name to Napoleon Dynamite. But Steve, I'll get to your question in just one sec, or your comment at least. Ooh, we could get Joe Mixon here. That would be nice. All right, Joe Mixon, ADP value, 5 picks past. We have Nico Collins as well. So if we luck out and we get Stroud coming back around, we'll be in fantastic shape with this roster. But I have McBride. I can also go Kyler Murray. We are in good shape, but Garza is playing in a 1,000 buy-in. Tomorrow is the draft, ESPN 12-man league with hometown friends. I won last year. I have 7th pick. Hope I'm not screwed. Congrats on your championship, man. Congrats. Pick 7 is sometimes tricky, but you can definitely get good options there. Is it full PPR or half PPR? Let me know. Congrats on the chip, though. Must have been a high payout. You probably made like at least $7,000 if it was a $1,000 buy-in. Half PPR. That's cool. But yes, I got Trey McBride at 54. That's very, very nice. Great value. But 8K, dope, man. Love to hear it. Dev has not had a tater tot in years. That's kid food. Well, your autocorrect wants you to have one. Oh, wow. 2 more picks for us to get Stroud. Oh, boy. Let's go. Stroud stacked up with Mixon and Nico Collins. Very happy with this. Hell yeah. Justin Jefferson, Nico Collins, Devontae Smith, Michael Pittman, Trey McBride, Joe Mixon, CJ Stroud. Let's go. I like this team. I really like this team. Mixon is an underrated pass catcher. I do think you can stack up Mixon with Stroud and get a lot of receiving touchdowns as well, not just rushing. But fuck yeah. Stroud pick 78. I'm pumped for this. 7th pick, you're looking at A.J. Brown and Justin Jefferson most likely. Most likely. If not, you could also go running back. Count on the big 3 running backs being gone. Lamb, Hill, and Amon-Ra probably all gone too. Maybe there's a chance you still get Bijan or Brees. There's a chance. Jordan Addison, Jamison Williams, Alvin Kamara, James Conner, Aaron Jones, and DeAndre Swift after I go with Stroud. Okay. I definitely need running back here. So we're going to be getting one of Ramondre, Jalen Warren, or Zamir White. My preference would be Jalen Warren. I think the spike week potential of Warren is ideal. I'll take Stevenson if that's who's left. I prefer Stevenson over Zamir. Ramondre will catch more passes than Zamir White will. Stevenson gets taken, so we will go Jaylen Warren. Yeah, I'll take Jaylen Warren over Zamir. Better ADP value as well, but from an upside standpoint, I think Warren is more interesting. But Dev saying you're out of your mind if you think they paid Calvin Ridley all that money to be a wide receiver 2, especially with Hopkins hurt. I get it, though. Many don't like Ridley this year. Now that Hopkins is hurt, I definitely prefer Ridley a lot more. I think he's a lot closer to a top 30 wide receiver. I had him back-to-back with Hopkins before the injury at like number 41 or 40, something like that. Ridley's definitely a safer pick at the moment, but I just don't trust Will Levis. At the end of the day, I'm not dying to invest in Will Levis. But there will be garbage time. If they can use him a lot better than the Jags used him, there's always upside with Ridley. Some of the hate has maybe gone too far, but in round 5, almost none of those receivers I think are worth taking. So not too excited to grab him, but given how the draft went for us so far, we don't have a stack for Jordan Love. I'm going to go Zach Moss. Still a believer in Zach Moss. I will take him here in the 9th round, pick 102. And I do still think there's a world where he's more valuable than Chase Brown. I know all the hype has been swinging towards Chase Brown, but I still think my commitment to Zach Moss will work out. He profiles more as a goal line back. Also, Chase Brown didn't really look like the most talented runner of the football in the preseason. I know he got all the reps, but Zach Moss didn't play because of an illness, and it's kind of hard to fully buy into that usage repeating. I think once Zach Moss is healthy, we'll see a much closer to 50-50 split. But I do think from a build standpoint and from an experience standpoint, I think Zach Moss is more of a goal line running back. And that's what I'm chasing in the Bengals backfield, the touchdown upside. Joe Mixon has scored 36 touchdowns in the last 3 years. So if we can get 10 rushing touchdowns from Zach Moss, I will be ecstatic. But yeah. Yeah, Brown was not able to find the proper holes to run through. Not quite ready. So he does need the reps. He definitely needs the reps. Moss was so good last year in Indianapolis. That's what I'm willing to buy into. I still believe in Moss. I believed in him for a long time. If you asked me last year, I was actually kind of a believer in Chase Brown, but watching him actually play, I started to fade him. I really wanted Dontavian Wicks there, but that team had Jordan Love. It makes sense. You almost never see me take Shaheed. Do I take him here? No, I'm going to go Brandon Cooks. I have Brandon Cooks ranked higher. Going to trust my rankings. I don't want to invest in the Saints offense very much. If it's not Juwan Johnson super late or Alvin Kamara when you need running back in the 7th round, I don't even like taking Chris Olave in the 2nd. I don't want to commit myself to Derek Carr. I'll pass on Shaheed. Is Shaheed hurt? I do not know, but I have seen him fall a lot lately. The other day I took him at pick 124, and I was wondering why. So he has been falling. His ADP used to be 103, 104. Now he goes 118. So, yeah, that would make sense. But honestly, I can't tell you for sure. But Garza asking, besides fantasy, do you think Lamb signs? I'm a Cowboys fan. Yeah, they'll sign him. They need him so badly. They really have like no legitimate offense without CeeDee Lamb. They'll figure it out. It's just Jerry Jones usually waits until the last minute to get it done for whatever reason. He's going to drag it out. But Lamb will sign. I'm not worried about it. Reed is saying Rashid hurt his foot today, you think? Okay. That would make sense why he's falling. But I still don't want to take him. Goff is a very safe pick, but we don't have any of them. I'm going to take Jalen Polk, a player I believe in. Drake May looked pretty solid yesterday, and I do think Polk is their number one receiver. I will take Jalen Polk. We had really good receivers at the top. We've kind of faded it. Considered A.D. Mitchell there, but without Anthony Richardson and already having Michael Pittman, I'm not going to take A.D. Mitchell. I'm not going to invest in another Colts receiver. Gabe Davis and Mike Williams have some high upside, but they're very boom or bust options. I'd rather take the safety net of Jalen Polk, who I really trust. I really liked him as a prospect coming into the draft. But Boofy says, I got a fun DraftKings $5 single entry build with CMC, Derrick Henry, and Brooks at the running back core. I like having those three-headed monster teams. Yeah, if Brooks gets healthier before we expect, Brooks is really going to smash. He's so talented. I like him a lot. It's just a question of when does he get on the field. But if you have McCaffrey and Derrick Henry already, then you're not counting on him. That's a nice third running back to have for sure in that situation. That's a nice running back core. Drake May did look good. I mean, there was a lot of hype on him. If you were talking about like the quarterback class a full year ago, like May was in the conversation as like equally as good as Caleb Williams. There were some people that were in the camp saying he should be drafted above Caleb Williams. And I mean, say what you want, like he might be a bit more of a project, but like he played at UNC. He lost his like only NFL caliber receiver in Josh Downs last year. And then they brought in Devontae Walker, but he was suspended for 4 games. Like he never really had the chance to like really get going with like a really good receiving core. And yeah, I just think he needs some time to like get his feet under him. But the talent's there. He also has like very high rushing upside as well. It's still the preseason. I don't want to like, declare that May is like guaranteed to pay off after just one preseason game where he looked okay. But I do believe in him long term. Definitely still need to see more. But he can make it work. And sometimes like players can look really bad and then all of a sudden there's like a very steep learning curve. They look amazing all of a sudden. I wouldn't rule him out entirely. It's still very early in his career. He's still very young. Jahan Dotson, someone we should be fading at the moment. So I'm going to go Ty Chandler. We passed on him last time for J.K. Dobbins, and I could have done that again, but let's mix it up. Let's go Ty Chandler. Chandler also has a pretty legit path to succeed. Aaron Jones is 29, always misses games, and will probably miss some games as well. With the weird situation with the receivers and also J.J. McCarthy getting hurt, they might lean on Ty Chandler a little bit more. So I think his floor is decent. He's been moving up the board a little bit lately, and it makes sense. Chandler filled in nicely last season when he was the starter. So I think he's a justified pick here, given we only have Joe Mixon, Jalen Warren, and Zach Moss at the position. We don't want to get buried at running back. Not yet. he might have some accuracy issues, Drake May, but I think he'll figure it out. It's just a question of like, do the Patriots have like any weapons that can really step up? I think Polk is going to look really good. Hopefully, Javon Baker turns into something. That's the key. Because they were just so bad at drafting in the past. Like when Belichick was in charge of the draft, they could not draft offense at all. It was anemic. But kind of wanted to take J.K. Dobbins with the last pick. Let's just take him here again. Let's just further commit to this working out. You've seen me take Jalen Wright plenty of times, but Dobbins definitely has a quicker path to playing time than Jalen Wright does. They both equally have like top 10 upside, but it's more likely that Dobbins gets more touches next year than Jalen Wright. So I'll go with J.K. Dobbins here. Once again, just like we did earlier in the video. I would agree, Reed. Grabbing May at the very end of the draft does feel fair, especially if you have like Jalen Polk or maybe Hunter Henry as well on the roster. His rushing value, I think, will make him a bit enticing. But in all honesty, I've taken very little of him. To be completely honest with you, I am not that exposed to Drake May this offseason. At that stage in the draft, I've opted for Darnold a bit more. I've also opted for like Justin Fields a bit more. But yeah, when he's free, when it's the last round, yeah, go ahead and sprinkle him in. Not bad. Reed has him at 11%. I think I have him at 3%. So you're higher on him than I am. But I was honestly taking him a lot more before the draft. I think that's kind of the reason why I cooled it. Like, I was taking May in the pre-draft ranks when he was going like round 12, round 13, and I thought he was going to play for the Commanders. Once he went to the Patriots, I was like, shit. I was really worried about that. Now with a completely free ADP, it's definitely more justified. But if I didn't take him so much back in March and April, I probably would have had May closer to 8% for sure. But I just took him so much, I had to pump the brakes after a while. Excuse me. Do I use Best Ball Explorer? I do not. I don't know. I'm not familiar with what that is, in all honesty. We're going to go Xavier Legette here, 11 picks past ADP. Compared to the other receivers in this range, nobody has the upside of Xavier Legette. Runs a 4.39, is like 6'3" tall. First round pick. Not like amazing camp reports, but like in terms of upside, that's what we're chasing. So give me Legette this late. I'll take Legette. Like a month ago, Xavier Legette and Jahan Dotson were both going around pick 130, and Legette has fallen now 30 picks. Meanwhile, Dotson is still going in the top 145, and I think Dotson should be falling just as much as Legette has been falling. Straight up at the moment, I think I'd rather go Legette than Dotson. There's some weird vibes with Dotson at the moment. You know the Panthers are invested in making Legette work. Like, they actually drafted him, the regime that's in charge right now. They traded up to get him, and they want that to work out. Meanwhile, in Washington, it's not the same regime that drafted Dotson, and Dotson was bad last year. I think they're trying to fade Dotson a lot. But, I've been talking myself into Yoshivas lately. I'm going to go with Yoshivis. I was bringing up his name back in like June as like a guy to consider in around 18. Now he's been moving up the board as it sounds like he's the number 3 receiver. And taking him here as my 8th guy, I think I'm done. These last 3 picks, even around 15, I think ADP is kind of irrelevant. So just get the guy I want. I could have gone McMillan there, but I think there's a little more upside in the Bengals offense than the Bucks. I also have some other Bengals on this team with Zach Moss. Yeah, we'll see what happens. But I need another quarterback. I need another tight end. And I'll probably take another running back. But we have 3 more picks. Let's see what happens. Steve is asking, who do I think the starting quarterback in Denver is? It's 100% Bo Nix. Bo Nix will get all year long. I believe in Bo Nix. He's my quarterback 26 in my rankings. I actually think Bo Nix is undervalued in the draft. But they announced Nix as the starter yesterday for the preseason. I think by the time that game is over, it's going to be a lock that he's the starter in week 1. And that's what I've assumed this whole time. They took him in pick 12 for a reason. Sean Payton loves him. But dude reached 20 spots to snipe you on Tolbert. Does he have Dak? Where did Tolbert go? Oh, wow. Tolbert went 159. He does not have Dak. You have Dak. That's interesting. Very interesting. For the sake of upside, I'm going to go with Ben Sinnott here again. Give me Ben Sinnott. Yeah, Tolbert has been flying up the board lately. Let's hope it works out for the people who are investing in him. I am hoping he does not overtake Brandon Cooks. I have a lot of Brandon Cooks. ADP can't keep up with the news. Yeah. Tolbert looks viable, but it's just because Lamb is not practicing. Like, there's all those targets available. But that's good. I mean, one of those guys needs to step up. Somebody needs to be developing with Dak in place of Michael Gallup. And there is some upside in that offense for sure. But I have a lot of Brandon Cooks. We took Cooks on this team as well. This is probably the last year where Cooks is viable. Probably last call on Brandon Cooks. But he was really good from a touchdown standpoint last season. Cook scored 8 touchdowns, all in like the last 11 games. Or it was like 7 touchdowns in the last 11 games, something like that. I think this gamble's going to work out for me. There are some leagues that like really highly covet the player I'm trying to draft here. Sometimes he still goes in round 18. This team has Burrow and Fields. I really hope I don't get sniped right now. I'd be kind of pissed if I get sniped right here. I do not. Thank the Lord. Give me Sam Darnold. I have Justin Jefferson on this team. I also have Ty Chandler. We're invested in the Minnesota Vikings. Let's go with Darnold. I'm praying he has the upside that Nick Mullins offered. Like, Nick Mullins shockingly was like really good for fantasy in 3 full games last season. And I know so many people like hate Sam Darnold, but like I'm just doubling down on it at this point. And like if he works out, if he's a top 20 quarterback and you get him essentially undrafted if not free in the 17th round. He's going to pay off so well. Like, you can really print money with Darnold if it works out. I'm hoping it does. I've already got Darnold like back up to like 11, 12%. I've been taking Darnold a lot. But Cooks has been a good pick all off season. There was a time when he was going to pick like 130, 135. He's fallen down. I mean, he's risen up to like 115. And now he seems to be like starting to trickle back down a little bit again with the Jalen Tolbert hype. But I still believe in him. I do. Dev has a lot of Tolbert in BBM, so I'm rooting against Cooks. That's fair. Reed says Tolbert could have to have big spike weeks even if Cooks does okay. It's possible, that's for sure. I just think Jake Ferguson's going to be like taking a big leap this season as well. That's where it all gets a little bit tricky with those wide receiver 2s and 3s in Dallas. What does Ferguson do to them in terms of value? And yeah, especially in BBM, just praying for upside. Darnold is still a good value. Definitely good pick. Tommy Tremble, pick 208. Okay. That's weird. Don't like me that selection. But we need running back. I might go Madison. What's the news on Dylan Laube? I'm going to go with CEH. He's been fading lately, but I still think he's the number 2 running back. There's some steam on Generic Prince, but I still think it's CEH. I think CEH is a better pass catcher for sure. I'll take a shot on CEH. Not expecting much from this RB6, but there's a world where CEH works out. Anyways, Dev had a week where he picked Tommy Tremble a lot. I remember watching like those underdog guys on that fantasy channel hype up Tommy Tremble. I forget which one. Anyways, that is the team. Let's take a look at Dev's squad since he's drafting with us. He was at pick 1. And at quarterback, he's got Dak stacked up with Lamb, Rico Dowdle. And that's it. Deshaun stacked up with Jerry Jeudy and David Njoku. Not bad. Running back, though, fucking stacked with Kyren Williams, Derrick Henry, and Josh Jacobs. Dowdle and Braylon Allen, some high upside swings later on. Pretty good core. Wide receiver, CeeDee Lamb, Calvin Ridley. I hope Ridley works out for you, bro. Really do. A little too high for me personally, but at pick 1 at the turn, go ahead and reach if that's who you want. JSN, Curtis Samuel, Jeudy, Michael Wilson, Tyler Boyd, Malik Washington. Tight ends, David Njoku, Isaiah Likely, Colby Parkinson. So a little thin at receiver, but when you have Lamb, it is never going to be that thin. And you do have 8 solid depth. Good team, man. Running back, fucking stacked. I'm a little low on Deshaun, but for the sake of the stacks, it works out. I like the team, man. Good job. A reminder of our team, the final roster. We went with CJ Stroud, who we have stacked up with Joe Mixon and Nico Collins. Also have Sam Darnold stacked up with Ty Chandler and Justin Jefferson. At running back, I've got Mixon, Warren, Moss, Ty Chandler, J.K. Dobbins, and CEH. So not quite a 0 running back build, but I'm hoping that the depth works out. Wide receiver, really loaded at the top with Jefferson, Nico Collins, Devontae Smith, Michael Pittman, Brandon Cooks, Jalen Polk, Leggett, and Yoshivas. So hoping these rookies pan out. Tight end, we got such a good value on Trey McBride. I felt like taking the shot on Sanat was worth it. McBride and Sanat are my tight ends. And that's going to be it for this live stream. I appreciate everyone who's been watching and joining me this whole time. Means a lot to me. And thank you all for hitting that like button, subscribing as well. Again, if you guys have any questions, feel free to leave a comment down below. I'll answer it later on this weekend or on another video. You can check out all of my rankings. I've got every quarterback ranked, every tight end ranked, top 40 running backs ranked, as well as top 50 receivers ranked. And I will be updating them in the coming week or two. And yeah, we're getting real close to the season. Very exciting. Can't wait. A lot of fun. See you guys later. Hope you all have a good one. Bye-bye.